So welcome back to our weekly score predictions, guys. We've had a lot going on in the Championship over the last week or so with all the midweek fixtures, which will be discussed throughout this video. And speaking of those midweek games, I will include your guys' comments on screen now. So if any of you did manage to get any of your midweek score predictions correct, then fair play to you. There were quite a few tricky ones in there. There were some decent encounters, all of which will be discussed throughout this video. Also, all of this week's fixtures will be in the description down below. Then you guys can go ahead and make your score predictions. And unfortunately for us, we do have another international break coming up after this weekend, so we'll have to make the most of it. But I think we'll have some decent games going on this weekend. So without any further ado, let's hop into my score predictions. So starting now with tonight's game between Birmingham and Middlesbrough. Now, neither of these sides are playing brilliantly at the moment. Middlesbrough have only got 1 win in 6, and Birmingham, I think, have only got 2 wins in 6 and have now lost their last 3 matches. In midweek, Birmingham had a bit of a nightmare against Wigan Athletic, losing that game away by 1-0. Lee Camp having an absolute howler for the goal he conceded in that one. There was no real danger of the shot going in, but it just seemed to squirm under. And if you've not seen that goal already, go check it out. But Birmingham against Middlesbrough in this one is a chance for either of them to sort of kickstart their season before the international break. I can't see there being all too much in this one. I was at the Riverside in midweek for Middlesbrough's game against Preston, and to be honest, there wasn't really much quality on show in that match for either side. Borough probably edged it with the chances they had. And to be fair to Middlesbrough, they probably looked better than they did at the weekend when they got absolutely taken apart by Sheff Wed. They certainly looked much more assured at the back. People like Marcus Brown look to provide a bit of a spark going forward, but overall, a lot of the time so far this season when chances have fallen in the way of British Belonga, he's just not really been very clinical with them so far. So for this one, two sides not playing with all too much confidence at the moment. I don't think there'll be all too much in it. I'll go for a 1-1 draw. Thief is going to say Borough will just edge it by 1-0. As the early kick-off on Saturday, we then got Fulham going up against Charlton. Now, Fulham have really found their goal-scoring touch lately. They're now unbeaten in their last 5 matches, and there was a bit of a frustration a couple of weeks ago. Fulham were drawing a lot of matches. They weren't quite killing them off. Seemingly, in their last couple, they had been doing that now, and they absolutely battered Reading in midweek. Tom Kearney scored another sort of trademark goal from outside the box, swooping it into the top corner with his left foot. Him in the Championship's just an absolute joke. Mitrovic also got 2 in midweek as well, so he'll be fancying his chances to add more to his tally this weekend. Charlton, they started well against Swansea at the weekend. Jonathan Lecco scored a fantastic goal to open that one, but they couldn't hang on and Swansea walked away with all 3 points. Charlton have got a few difficult fixtures coming up now, I think. They've got quite a few of the top 10 to play. This one's not going to be easy, although I fancy Charlton to defend better than Reading did. Obviously, Reading weren't helped in their game against Fulham as they were down to 10 men, but Charlton, I think they'll sit and make it difficult for Fulham. Sometimes over the season so far, we've seen Fulham be a little bit slow in the build-up, and I think that if they are going to get past Charlton, they'll need to have that zip about their play. But with the way they're going at the moment, I can't back against them. I will just edge Fulham for a 2-1 home victory. I think they'll have a little bit too much going forward, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. After that, we then got Derby going up against Luton. Now, Derby, of course, involved in midweek with the game they had against Barnsley, finishing as a 2-2 draw. A major talking point from that game was the fact that Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett were both involved in the squad. For me personally, I don't like it with everything that's gone on lately. I don't think it sends out the right message, and for those two to be instantly involved and, you know, brought back into the squad after what they'd done, it doesn't sit right with me, and I know a lot of Derby fans feel the same as well. On a more positive note for Derby, the form of Chris Martin at the moment, since he's come back into the squad, 3 goals in 3 games now, he's looked like to be a completely changed man. He looked to be the Chris Martin of a few years ago. Added to that, having Jayden Bogle back from injury as well, I think it's also going to be a positive. I think they've missed his presence. They'll have been disappointed not to have won the game in midweek as Barnsley came up with a late equaliser. They're going up against a Luton side who drew in midweek. Luton scored a fairly late equaliser in that one against Millwall. Callum McManaman getting on the score sheet. I don't think there'll be all too much in this game either. Derby have seemingly got a bit more of a goal scoring touch at the moment, and for a prediction, I might just edge them for a 2-1, although I'm still not fully convinced by Derby at the moment. I'll say 2-1 Derby. FIFA said it'll be a 1-1. After that, we then got Bristol City going up against Reading. Bristol City still on a fantastic unbeaten run. Unbeaten in 9 now. Not lost since the opening day. The only sort of frustrating thing for Bristol City is there has been a lot of draws for them lately. They've drawn 4 out of their last 5 matches. This is a good opportunity, though, to get all 3 points on the board, going up against a Reading side who aren't playing particularly well at the moment. They are really struggling at the moment, and that has come as a bit of a surprise to me. I thought they had a really good summer transfer window. Some of the performances at the start of the season I thought led to a lot of promise as well. I thought they had quite a few sort of dynamic attackers. Their midfield was looking good for creating chances, but lately in the past sort of 5 or 6 games, all of that sort of collapsed in on itself, and they've not been scoring enough goals. Obviously in midweek they got completely taken apart by Fulham. It wasn't helped that John Swift was sent off fairly early on in that game. Obviously he'll be missing from this one as well. Bristol City in midweek drawing with Brentford. Andy Vyman popping up with a late equaliser in that one. Jack Hunt once again from right back with a brilliant ball in, and then Vyman made the most of it. I can see Bristol City opening up this Reading defence for this one though. I do think they've got more about them than Reading do at this point in time. Reading need to find a performance from somewhere just to start to turn their season around, but away at Ashton Gate, I don't see it happening for them. So for a prediction, I'm going to back Bristol City for a 3-1 home victory, with Thief saying it'll be 2-0 Reading. Then we have Huddersfield going up against Hull. Now Huddersfield's result in midweek will be absolutely massive for the season to come now, picking up their first win of the season, beating Stoke away by 1-0. Danny Cowley getting his first win as Huddersfield manager, and that could be the real thing that starts to kickstart their season from now on. They left it fairly late for that game, but Bakuna with the goal, and it was fairly nicely worked as well. They were breaking forward with pace going forward, and a nice finish to make it 1-0. Going up against Hull is a tough game to follow up with. Hull have goals in their side. They've shown that throughout this season. They beat Sheff Wednesday in midweek, you know, and they handled Sheff Wednesday, a side who had put 4 goals past Middlesbrough the weekend before fairly well. They didn't give them much going forward, and Tom Eaves also got his first goal for Hull in midweek as well. You could tell that that meant quite a lot to him, and it was the sort of goal that they brought him in to score. You know, he is quite a big physical target man. It was a ball swung into the box and a diving header into the top corner. I think Huddersfield will give Hull a good game in this one though, and I don't think there'll be all too much in it between both sides. I think that we have seen slow signs of progression ever since Cowley has come in at Huddersfield. I don't think there'll be all too much in it. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and then they wouldn't be in an awful position then going into the international break. So I'll say 1-1. Thief is going to say 2-0 Hull. And then we have Millwall going up against Leeds. This one should be a really tasty one. After beating West Brom in midweek, Alioski's strike was enough for all 3 points in that one, and it was a good way for them to respond, you know, beating a fellow promotion rival after what had happened at Charlton the weekend before, and there were a couple of other inconsistent results. Now, it's going to be important for Leeds to get 3 points from this one going into the international break. They'll be hoping to be part of that sort of 3 or 4 sides at the top of the championship which look to break away from the fellow chasing pack, but Millwall at the Den I think will make it tough for them. Millwall will have no issues with being out of possession. I actually think that Millwall's game plan a lot of the times is better suited going up against those sort of heavy possession based sides, as when Millwall are required to take the game to the opposition, it's then when we see a little bit of maybe a lack of quality in their squad. Obviously Millwall drew with Luton in midweek, a 1-1 draw. It was nice to see Tom Bradshaw back on the score sheet for them after his injury. Matt Smith had a brilliant chance to make it 2-0 for that one, but just put his header wide. Honestly, I think Millwall will make it really difficult for Leeds in this one. It's a sort of game where I can see Leeds having about 95% possession. They'll have about 40 shots, and they'll only get 1 goal. I think that Pablo Hernandez and Forshaw are also going to be missing out once again for Leeds in this one. Hernandez, someone who they will be looking to get back as soon as possible. But for a prediction, I'm actually going to back Millwall to get a point from this one. I'm going to say 1-1. Leeds could absolutely turn up and they could put like 5 goals past them if they're clinical, but we've not seen that side of them so far this season, and I've just got a bit of a gut feeling about that one. I'll say 1-1. Thief's going to say 1-0 Millwall. Also, as a quick side note, after that match, after I'd finished recording, Neil Harris has actually gone ahead and left as Millwall manager, and that one took me as a surprise a little bit. Obviously, I had known that the Millwall fans were a little bit, you know, restless with how things were going. There was quite a large turnover of players during the summer, and performances up until this point had been fairly stale, but it still came as a surprise to me that he had gone and left. So Millwall fans, leave in the comments down below, who would you like to see come in and replace him? Then we got Forest going up against Brentford. Forest drawing in midweek with Blackburn. Probably wasn't their best performance of the season. I thought second half especially, Blackburn were actually creating quite a few chances, and they had Samba to thank for that point in the end. He pulled off some terrific saves. I think he's been a brilliant buy for them so far. But Joe Lolly scoring a fantastic equaliser in that one, as it did finish 1-1. Now they're going up against a Brentford side who, for me, I've not been, you know, too overly impressed by so far this season. I expected quite a bit from them, but they're slowly starting to find their feet in the league this season. They've only lost 1 of their last 5 now. They're unbeaten in their last 3. It was a point in midweek for them as well against Bristol City. They put 3 goals past Barnsley at the weekend. Ollie Watkins scoring a hat-trick in that goal. He's slowly starting to fit into that number 9 role. Obviously the void left by Neil Maupay there, and they're starting to score a few more goals now, Brentford, and look more of a threat going forward, and I do think they will cause Forest some problems in this one. I think they're starting to be a little bit more meaningful with their possession and turn some of those sort of half chances into goals now, Brentford. But Forest are going to be no mugs. I have liked a lot from what I've seen of them so far this season. I think that from what I've seen, I think they have shown that they are capable of making it into the top 6, certainly with that squad they've got available to them. You know, it was a good summer transfer window. I'm sort of in 2 minds about this one because I think it will be a really close one. I think I might just edge towards Forest for a 2-1, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Brentford pick up a point on the road. I'll say 2-1 Forest. FIFA's going to say 2-0 Brentford. That could go either way. Then we've got Preston going up against Barnsley at Deepdale. I think the North End are now unbeaten in 7. Barnsley, of course, still not won since the opening day, but a decent point for Barnsley against Derby. Obviously, they levelled that one up quite late on. Coley Woodrow, who has been their main goal scoring threat, scoring a late equaliser in that game. Preston in midweek, it wasn't the best showing from us away at Middlesbrough. It finishes a 1-1 draw. Borough probably had the better opportunities in that one. Declan Rudd had to pull off a couple of saves, and I thought that for one of the first times this season, Alex Neil probably got it wrong for that game. He decided to play Daniel Johnson a lot deeper than he has been playing so far this season, and he wasn't really in the game to accommodate putting Alan Brown into the number 10 role. Alan Brown so far this season, I'm not sure what it is, but he just doesn't quite seem at it. And then sort of our forward three, who are normally quite fluid, Josh Harrop, Shawnee Maguire and Tom Barcusen, all of them weren't quite at it in that Borough game, and with all the possession that we did have, we didn't really create that many chances. So I do think, though, it will turn out to be a decent point if we do come and win this game at Deepdale. Obviously, North End still being unbeaten at home so far this season, but I think that Barnsley will make it difficult for us. They won't want to be in the relegation zone going into the international break. I'm really hopeful that Billy Bowden's back for this one this weekend. I think we've really liked his presence down the right-hand side since he's been out injured. For a prediction, I'm just going to edge us for a 2-1 home victory, but I wouldn't back against Barnsley in that one. I think they should be up for it. Then we've got QPR going up against Blackburn. These two sides sat next to each other in the table, so that should tell you that there probably won't be all too much in this game. QPR had a bit of a horror show in midweek. They're losing 3-0 against Cardiff. I think that defensively, they were caught out a couple of times with balls coming into the box. They did have a few chances going forward. I think they hit the post twice. Eze, as he usually does, look quite lively, but it was one to forget for them in that one. And they'll be looking to get points on the board after losing their last two, and it's a good chance to do so, but Blackburn won't make it easy. I thought that Blackburn in midweek actually put in a very good performance, especially in the second half. They created quite a few chances against a Nottingham Forest side who I've liked the look of so far, and on another day they probably would have gone on to win that game with some of the chances they had. Stuart Downing's been someone who's looked really good for them lately, very composed on the ball. Adam Armstrong, if you catch him on the good days, always capable of catching out championship defenders with his pace going forward. He took his goal well in midweek as well. So for this one, I don't see there being all too much in it, and for a prediction, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and FIFA's going to agree with me for that one. Then we got Sheff Wednesday going up against Wigan. Sheff Wednesday losing in midweek against Hull City. They couldn't follow up that fantastic performance at the weekend with all 3 points in midweek, although they did get quite unlucky with a penalty appeal in that game. Now, Wigan did get back to winning ways in midweek, although they did have, a Lee Camp blunder to thank for that. A 1-0 win against Birmingham. Not a bad result at all. They also had Josh Windass coming back into the starting 11 for that game, and I think that that game probably highlighted how much they've actually missed Windass from his time out of the squad so far this season, and having him back and getting back to full fitness I think will be a big thing for Wigan going forward. I can certainly see them scoring more goals in the next few weeks. However, I'm still not sure his return will be enough to sort out their away record, which is carried over from last season. So far, Wigan have only picked up 1 point on the road so far this season. I do think that Wednesday will make it difficult for them. I think that when they are on form, they can open up sides. We've seen Barry Bannon in recent weeks come up with some absolutely brilliant inch-perfect assists. I do fancy them to get back to winning ways in this one with a 2-0 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-1. And then we've got Swansea going up against Stoke City. You do feel as if the end is near for Nathan Jones now, and I'd be very surprised if he hung on to his job after this weekend. With the international break coming up, I think that Stoke would probably look to pull the trigger, and that would be the end for Jones. I would be sad to see him go, because I think he has given it his best shot at Stoke, and I think ultimately he has been let down by a lot of the senior players there. I think it's a mess of a club at the moment, and after losing that game against Huddersfield in midweek, they really are left in a perilous position. They're going up against the Swansea side, who are currently sat top of the championship after they beat Charlton in midweek. The Valley, not an easy place to go to. We've seen a couple of sides slip up there so far this season, but Swansea managed to get the business done in that one, winning by 2-1. Now, if you cast your mind back to last season, Ipswich Town did get their first win of the season away at Swansea at a very similar point in the season. So maybe if history is to repeat itself in the Championship, Stoke could go and do the same in this one here today. But to be honest, I'm not sure that'll be the case. Whenever Stoke go a goal down in the match, I feel like that's it from them. There's going to be no fighting comeback. They play well until the first goal goes in, and then their heads just drop, and then from then on, there's no chance of getting back into the game. And for that reason, I'm going to back Swansea for a 3-1 home victory in this game. I think it'll be fairly comfortable for them. And then there's our final game this weekend. We've got West Brom going up against Cardiff. Now, West Brom's unbeaten start to the season was put to an end at Ellen Road in midweek as Leeds walked away with a 1-0 victory from that game. I think it was always bound to happen, and West Brom, it wasn't the worst performance in the world for them. You know, losing at Ellen Road's no disgrace. For the second half, I thought they played alright. But being back at the Hawthorns for this one, I think it'll be quite a good game, actually. Cardiff looked really good in midweek, putting 3 goals past QPR. They'll be looking to bring that attacking touch into this game, but I have really liked West Brom going forward so far this season. I've said it a few times, but the 3 that playing behind the striker, I think, have just been linking up absolutely brilliantly. West Brom will be keen to getting back to winning ways after the weekend, but Cardiff won't make it easy for them. For a prediction, I'm just going to edge to West Brom, winning it by 2-1. Thieves are going to say it'll be 1-0 West Brom. But guys, there you have it. That will now wrap it up for today's episode of my Championship score predictions. Leave all your predictions in the comments down below. I'm interested to see what you guys are saying for this weekend. If you went on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like and make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.